This is WarCry. WarCry for Our Children, where the street meets the sanctuary and purpose meets power. Join me, Elder M, intercessor, street evangelist, prayer warrior, advocator for justice. We stand in the gap in the streets, in the courtyards, in the schoolyards, in the church and on the block. This ain't just prayer. It's intercession. It's advocacy. We deal with real problems. Criminal justice, social justice, gun violence, social media, catfishing, human trafficking, mental illness, education disparities. We deal with it all here on WarCry. Our community has a voice. It's called WarCry. Each week, we link arms with community leaders, educators, pastors, parents calling out injustice. This is WarCry. This is not just a podcast. It's more than a moment. This is a movement. Join us. Let's give a voice to the problem and be the solution. I'm trying not to lose my head. It's like a jungle sometimes. It makes me wonder how I keep on going. WarCry. We're going to speak out for our children. Let freedom ring? No. There cannot be freedom until there's justice. WarCry, join us Mondays, 11 a.m. I'm just about to lose my mind. This is WarCry. They're trying to turn time back. But let us get out and give a voice to the problem. This is WarCry. Join us, be with us, or be gone. Don't push us. This is WarCry. Trying not to lose my head. It's like a jungle sometimes. It makes me wonder how I keep from going under. We're not going under. This is WarCry.
This is WarCry, and welcome. We're glad that you decided to join us to be part of our community as we press in to find solutions and strategies on how we can help our kids, our people, and move them to a place of freedom. You know, we've had a lot of things happen over this weekend. Even now, we're dealing with situations in Newark, New Jersey, where a 10-year-old and a 21-year-old lives were taken this weekend. 5 people were shot, but the 10-year-old and the 21-year-old died. We got to do something about this. We really got to do something. It's got to be a little bit more than talk. The funding's got to come to the grassroots. It's got to come here. We the people know what's going on in the streets. I got some great organizations that can come out and work in the street tirelessly. We need to provide information to our kids and who they are and what they were born to be. See, we need social justice prophets. I just came up with that. We need social justice prophets. We need Amos. We need Isaiah. We need Jeremiah. We need people who are not afraid to speak the truth. Now, what does the Bible say? The Bible says in Jeremiah 22:3, the Lord proclaims, do what is just and right, and rescue the oppressed. Well, we failed. And rescue them from who? From the power of the oppressor. We failed. Don't exploit or mistreat the refugee. We failed. Take care of the orphanage. We failed. Take care of the widow. We failed. Don't spill the blood of innocents in this place. Well, you know we're failing on that. Our kids are dying. 10, 13, 16, 11, even our kids are being shot, even in the strollers. The Bible tells us to defend the helpless. We failed. But guess what? We want to get better. And that's why WarCry is here, opening up the doors, talking about things that you would not normally hear. Today, we have a great program. Jabari Hall, this young man, let me tell you, he has came up with a curriculum system that's so phenomenal that it can change how our children feel about themselves and help them deal with some of the oppression, the anger, and the violence that they see every day. You know them, right? So let's go. Bring the panel in. Bring the panel in. Bring the panel in today on WarCry. I have to tell you this. I was so delighted when I met you. I mean, I couldn't stop talking about you. I gotta say this because I just said you're the man. You're the man. You're the man that has the answers to what we've been struggling with our young people today. And before we even go into it, I just want to see your presentation on TED. Put it up for me, program director. Let's look at the presentation. Now she's putting it up so we can see the TED presentation. I think it's coming up now.
Namaste, and good day, everyone. My name is Jabari Hall. Can we talk about social and emotional learning? I'd like to share with you Yes? Yes. Great. May I request us all to please close our eyes. Place your right hand over your heart and focus your consciousness there. Now imagine yourself back when you were a 10-year-old little human, naive and unaware of. Now please repeat this after me. I love me. I love. I had almost the same meditative request for my middle school class that I taught a few years back. And on the first day of school, I asked my scholars to look at a picture of little humans for about 5 seconds. Then choose someone to be your friend or boyfriend or girlfriend or no one to you at all. The student quickly raised his hand with a puzzled look on his face. He said, Mr. Hall, I don't think I need this class. Which led me to think that either he was really nervous about picking imaginary friends on the first day of school, or that he was secretly a sensei. And clearly he thought this class was going to be a waste of his time. Hopefully we are not all senseis in SEL in this room, and we can engage in this moment together. Why? Why is it that we can look at someone do the impossible when we ourselves cannot even see possible? Why is it that some humans can control their emotional responses during a crisis? Why is it that some of us can tap into our higher critical thinking, that prefrontal cortex, higher brain power function, while some of us ignore basic things? Why is it that two people can exist in relationship? And one can say, I love myself, whilst the other cannot even utter the words, I love myself. I found myself repeatedly asking why as I mentored young girls in Cleveland, Ohio during the summer of 2009. Now, why did these 12 and 13 and 14-year-old girls develop low self-esteem and a reduced sense of self-worth? I decided, I'm going to provide some SEL workshops to help them build their emotional intelligence. And after weeks of it, I started to see signs of a positive attitude and self-management techniques being put into practice. At the end of the summer, reflected on this. I reflected on what we just experienced. And I could not for the life of me understand the why, neither the how. How did they reach a point in their life where on one end, exponential growth was imminent, yet on the other end, their emotional quotient had dwindled away? Why is it that I could be other little humans that can see self-worth and exhibit empathy towards others and love rather than hate, while meeting these little humans that could not get past I'm ugly or I'm stupid or that's not possible? It was in that moment of asking why that I saw the true value in developing the emotional quotient over their intelligent quotient. I decided to discover why SEL and devoted the next 13 years to developing life's ultimate ingredient to the human quotient, social and emotional learning. It was in that moment I decided to be an agent of change. I went from a place of wonder and lack of knowledge to now a space of awareness and advocacy. And if you'd allow me, I'd like to share with you the what, when, where, who, and how, and why SEL is vital to each and every one of us in this room, and vital to incorporating it to every tier of our society. Let's start with the what. What is SEL? SEL stands for Social and Emotional Learning. And I defined SEL as the measured process through which an individual or human being develops and effectively applies the chosen attitude, behavior, knowledge, and skills necessary to 1, think positive, 2, understand and regulate emotions, 3, declare and achieve goals, 4, empathize and respect others, 5, seek and engage in positive relationships, and 6, consistently make constructive and responsible decisions. Looking at our diagram here, we see that SEL is comprised of 5 parts. Those 5 parts include self-awareness, self-management, social awareness, relationship skills, and responsible decision making. It also includes a scholar, mentors, and guardians alike. Now, most of you have to be thinking this. Wow, Jabari Hall, I mean, this guy must have started SEL. I mean, he's brilliant. And most of you would be correct in knowing that I did not start SEL. SEL's history dates back to the 1960s in the US. James Comer and the child study team of Yale School of Medicine in New Haven, Connecticut, they conducted the conceptual SEL. And once success was seen, the use of SEL began to expand. 2 decades later, pioneers like T. Shriver and Dr. Weisberg further developed the concept. And less than a decade later, the 1994 group CASEL was formed. And couple CASEL with Daniel Goleman's 1995 book, Emotional Intelligence, Where It Can Be Better Than IQ, and SEL was propelled into mainstream education. Today, parts of SEL is used in over 120 countries. Countries like New Zealand and Australia and across Europe and Asia have tapped into the purpose of SEL. Here on the continent of Africa, countries like this great one, Ghana, Gambia, and Guinea, and Kenya, Nigeria, and Sierra Leone, and South Africa, South Sudan, Tanzania, Uganda, and Zambia have tapped into the well that is social and emotional learning. Background from the US, I've partnered with over 200 schools and organizations to show them why we do SEL, how we do SEL, and who is truly impacted by the use of SEL in their community.
Okay, let's stop the video and just let's have a conversation. Let's have a conversation. Let's stop the video. I want to have a conversation. Mr. Hall, tell us a little something about yourself. We've seen the video, but why did you really start to do SEL? Was it because you had a burden for young people? And the young people were failing. How did you come up with this? Tell us a little something about yourself and how did you come up with this concept?
Yes. First, thank you so much for the opportunity to be a part of the work that you're doing and the influence that you have. Thank you so much for the panelists and everyone here for allowing me to share this space with you. Good morning, good afternoon, whoever's listening and when they're listening. My name is Jabari Hall, and I am a owner of the company J.Has.Heart, where we focus on social and emotional learning for young people, for adults, and for guardians. So all humans of all ages. And I have I've received a blessing from God to really empower people for the last 15 plus years through social and emotional learning, and where we've been able to develop 3 curricula for those individuals or those groups. That would be a K-12 curriculum for students, a adult curriculum for educators, and an adult curriculum for caregivers or parents. And what I do is lead that organization in a way that I am led by the Holy Spirit in order to empower people. So we are going to any space that a door is opened, or they may resist, yet the door still gets opened, and empower human beings in those spaces. And outside of leading that organization, I serve as a public speaker where I am traveling to schools and organizations and empowering people through helping them to love who they are, helping them to think through their decision making and make better ones, and helping them to move towards stronger relationships. So how did J.Has.Heart come about? How did my work in SEL come about? To answer that part B of your question there, it would be, I started out my desire for, I guess, a career when being introduced to computers when I first moved to this country. And it propelled me into receiving a full scholarship to college for computer science and studying computers coming out of college and starting my own software and web development company and empowering I guess companies and users through visually seeing how a website can look and how applications could look. And I was so impassioned about it. But after a few years of being out in the field, that passion dwindled. And I was wondering, why is this dwindling? And in that wonder, I started to ask the Lord, like, I don't feel purpose filled. I don't feel purpose led. I don't feel your presence in my life. What is my purpose? Why am I here? I've ascended and done great things in computer science, but why am I here? And I went on a 10-month everyday prayer, unceasingly just praying about, what is my purpose here? Why? Give me answers, searching. I'm asking the Holy Spirit. And one morning I was finishing a meeting as a project manager, leading a team of folks, sitting at home, relaxing. And as I clicked off the button, the video, I was like, can I do this anymore? Lord, what is my purpose? In that moment, Holy Spirit speaks to me to empower the youth. I instantly turned around and said to myself, like, who is here? I'm the only person in this space, but I heard a voice. I walked around the condo asking, who's here? Who's here? Who's here? Lord, is that you? And from that moment, I realized that I had been given my purpose. It is to empower young people. And from there, I just set out to empower young people through imaging the love that Christ has for me and for all of us, and empowering young people through that in a secular way, and certainly through our ministry. So that's how it came about. I can go into more detail with more pointed questions, but I wanted to stop there.
Now, just tell us, what exactly is SEL? I know we went through it. S stands for social, right? E stands for emotional,
Yes.
and I stand for intelligent, right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I stand SEL. So L stands for what? Learning.
Yes.
So it's social, emotional, learning. Okay,
Yes.
we got it. Panel, we
Yes.
got it. Now, explain to me, what is the social part, and then we'll deal with the emotional part. What is the social part of the learning that you bring into to the table with this curriculum that you got that affects not only the child, the administrators, and the parents? It's threefold. You've got a three-part learning system where you bring everybody to the table. So explain to us the social part of it.
Yeah, just to delve into, if I may, SEL a little bit more. Yes, so SEL stands for social and emotional learning. That encompasses social intelligence and emotional intelligence and presents it in a learning atmosphere for humans, little or big, to learn from and understand and experience.
Now let me just jump in. When you speak about the social part, so are you saying that you're bringing the environment, the culture that the child is living in into the learning experience? Talk a little bit about that.
Exactly, right? So now, overall with SEL, with social intelligence, it is bringing in this relationships, this interpersonal relationship, and how you interact there. Is it whether it is from an emotional standpoint, whether it is just interpersonal in a relational way, interpersonal in a understanding the cultures that you are experiencing in a particular environment, et cetera, et cetera. So mainly it is like responsible decision making and successful relationship or positive relationship. And that is a social component. Now, in a general sense, that's what SEL is. So there'll be leaders in the industry that are teaching or edifying young people on how to make responsible decisions and how to move towards positive relationship building. But with what we do at J.Has.Heart, it says a young man from Brooklyn, New York is growing up different than a young woman from some city in Iowa, Des Moines. So how do we then help them understand how cultural dynamics fit into how you perceive a person, perceive how they think, perceive how they act? And then once you take that in, how do you then understand it so that when you interact with them, it comes out in a respectful way, whether it's a sympathetic or empathetic way, but in a way where you are discerning that this is a different environment, or this is a different person, or this is a different context. How do I then interact within this context?
Hopefully wow, that's good. No, it makes a lot of sense. So for an example, I want to say this. I don't think our schools are doing that.
Yeah,
we're just bringing the student in with the same curriculum. If the curriculum is in somewhere else, Bensonhurst, we're bringing it into Brownville. But we're not even doing that well because our curriculums have a lot of different problems with them. But we're just going to use that as an example. Right. Instead of taking the culture that the individual is coming from and trying to bring that into the learning experience. Right. And then you're dealing with the emotional part of it, because most certainly that's a part of the whole person that's sitting in that classroom.
Absolutely.
So how do we actually deal with the emotional part of it, and then deal with the culture part of it, and then bring these two things together to make a happy environment? Because you spoke about the teachers got to be trained. How long is the training for the teachers? Then the parents got to be trained. So let's just dive a little bit. How do we do this, Mr. Hall?
Certainly. Well, I'll say this. The reason why we are taking a 3-tier approach, or these 3 tribes of a village, a mantra, is understanding that to develop the entire child, the whole human, all of their interactions and environments have to be tapped into a little bit. So from the educator, they're spending 8-10 hours a day at school. All these educators in schools, if they're interacting with a teacher, with a principal, with a custodial member, someone else volunteering in the school, or part of the food staff, et cetera, they're interacting with all these different educators. We have to be able to empower them or change their perspective or lens in which they see a young person and interact with a young person. Then with parents as well, we have to recognize first that us as parents were raised a different way than young people are being raised right now. How do we then take that, hold it, but then challenge ourselves to say, how is my young person growing up now? Okay, how are these things in conflict? How is this holding me back? Oh, what is going to push me forward? So helping them recognize and think and acknowledge and discern, how do I then tap into all that my child can be in our home environment? Then with the child, of course, we are helping them to understand themselves in different contexts, themselves sitting in Brownsville, themselves going to a school in East New York, themselves going to the supermarket at Bed-Stuy, like see themselves in different areas. And so we had to be able to speak to all those different spaces and areas of a young person. So that's one part. That's why we are focused in on all these different areas. Now, how do we merge the two, a social intelligence and emotional intelligence? Well, for our curriculum for K to 12, specifically, let's talk about middle schoolers. Middle schoolers are growing exponentially in their understanding of the world, understanding of themselves, physiologically, all these different ways. And then receiving all this different type of information of how to grow up. What's a young man like? What's a young woman like? How do we do things in the Black community? How do we do things in the Hispanic community, et cetera, et cetera. And they're trying to understand all of these things. What we do is in the classroom, we say a simple decision like making a friend on the first day of school. How do you go through that? Well, a young person may think, person A may say to themselves, well, they are nice to me, so I'm nice to them, and we become friends. Person B might say, well, my parents say don't hang out with that type of person because of XYZ. They're not communicating that, but because of their brought up or because of their culture, or because of the way they just interact at home, they are then showing that in a way that they might not articulate it, but they're showing it. So we help them recognize in this space, you might be person A, you might be thinking it's innocent. Person B might have all these complexities. How do we recognize these differences in our school, in our classroom, and then say to ourselves, how do I account for these things? Okay, I'm nice to you, but you may not be nice to me just because I'm nice to you. So I then have to ask the question, because I become more socially intelligent, I now have to ask the question, hey, look, you might see me being nice to you, but still not like me. Like, is there a challenge? Is there an issue why you may not like me? Because I am trying to be nice to you. And then once you ask that question, that person can then respond to it. Or maybe that person is the first time they heard it, then they're like, how do I respond to that? So we then also empower them to respond a particular way. Like, hey, I never heard that question before. Can I get back to you on that? Right. That's a proper way. Now you're interacting in a way where you're respecting that person's differences. You're trying to understand them, et cetera, et cetera. So we are bringing this in the classroom where people are understanding cultural differences, or even just family dynamics, while being emotionally intelligent to have a conversation respectfully.
Well, you know what? I'm an advocate of emotional intelligence, but we're going to continue with the conversation. I'm going to have Dr. Payne. Do you have anything you like to say? Anything? Because this is a new concept. We not only, I believe in the concept, social, emotional learning, where we take care of the wholeness of the individual child. And we're going to go on because there's proven statistics that are showing that with this new curriculum, there's things that are being reduced. Gang violence is reduced. Drug use is being reduced. Parents' awareness of their kids are increasing. Teachers' awareness of this is just not a young man who wears his pants down to the ground that we can stereotype. This may be another doctor or a lawyer or a scientist. We got to pipe into that. But Dr. Payne, you come right in. You got any questions?
Right. Yeah, I have a question. And you know what it is? Because it's not an equal playing ground to start with. Hear me, it's not equal. And a lot of times children grow up today, they have to be a survivor. And so that's kicked in automatically. What I'm saying is because a lot of times children today, they look at things how it was and they build up that defense. Understand what I'm saying? And it's kind of hard. It's really hard. And so now, in order for the children really to decide, they got to see a difference, not talk about it. They got to see the difference so they can let their guards down or drop. But people now today, they wouldn't let their guards down. Let's say when in the early 70s, when we had interracial school, we had to get shipped out to another school. And like I said, some schools get better education, better different things, better equipment. It seemed like everything's better in a different neighborhood. So then when we get leftovers, so then the kid build up that defense, they see what's going on. And that's kind of hard. We try to tell the children, do good in school and hang out with the right ones and individual. As parents, we're trying to tell them that, but kids see something different.
Yeah, but let me ask you a question, Dr. Payne. Let me ask you a question. What do you think 2025, put your 2025 hat on, what do you think our kids see every day? What do you think?
Well, they see hatred. They actually see that. But you got some kids that's really trying to do good and try to do something positive. But when you see a lot of negative around, and you see that we talk that talk, but we don't walk that walk. And
okay, but let's get real. Let's get real. They see hatred. They see gang violence. They see dysfunctionality. They feel trauma. They feel angry. They see memorials. They see and hear police sirens in their neighborhoods and communities. They see a distance between them and another sector of town that they are discriminated against. So we want to deal with what they see now. The new 2024-25 generation see so much differently than what we see. We're going to come back. Dr. Gaudet, come on in.
Hello. This is extremely exciting to me. Let me just start out with, I'm a social activist. I'm also a professor. I supervise graduate students. I'm a veteran. I've done a lot, but just to get to the focus, I do want to mention Juwanza Kunjufu and the fourth grade syndrome, which really means that the children, especially the little black boys, are targeted and then put into special education. I don't have to explain that any further. However, there is a cultural difference that you were talking, Dr. Payne talked about too. What we're talking about is when you work with children, the first thing you need to do is to vet them. What do I mean by that in particular? Are they on medication? Is there something else going on? All these children should be interviewed just as a standard operational procedure, as we say in the military. Now, with the medical piece that's going on, these kids who you're talking about, the middle school kids, if you will, but any age, you need to be able to have people there who can teach them and teach the parents. I'm trying to get a program together for fathers take the child to school, first day of school, or maybe every day, and then meet in groups, as small groups, to find out who you are. You talked about emotional intelligence. I'm definitely an advocate of that. There's emotional intelligence. There's intelligent quotient, emotional quotient, and you have action quotient. But what we're missing too is this this is just a sidebar. We're missing the financial intelligence, not in financial literacy, but intelligence. We need to teach all of this in the school system. We need to be able to do things as you were talking about, the first day of class. There needs to be a reasonable icebreaker. These children today, as has been said, and the questions answered, these children are up against so much. And where do they go? To the phone. They go to that daggone internet. And there needs to be some training about that. We need to train educators, and I have a program that I'm trying to present on that. Train educators to teach these children, particularly black males.
But that's what we're doing. That's what Mr. Hall is doing. This is a new curriculum here. That's what I need everyone to understand, and even everyone that's listening in. We need look. We've had curriculums by many people. You know, I've worked in the school system. We buy curriculums off the wall. They market different curriculums, and we buy packages off the wall, and we say things like, "Oh, it worked in Atlanta. Oh, it worked over here." But guess what? We need a curriculum that addresses the holisticness of our kids, the
Yes.
social environment of our kids. Look, the kids that's in Suffolk County are not like the kids in Brownsville.
No.
We can't even have the same package. We want to say we want the equal curriculums, but guess what? What our kids have to go through mentally is not the same thing. And I'm going to just say this and turn it over. Even on our tests, something as simple as this. You can have a cup and a saucer. And you give that to our kids don't have a cup and a saucer that they use together. They just use a cup. So the correlation of things are not even the same. But if we start addressing it in our culture with the social environment, we can bring a change. Okay, Jabari, come back on. It's your show. I just wanted to make people aware of, we're talking about a social change and the emotional change. We're not even into the academics yet. We're just dealing with the holistic person.
Yeah, I have a question. What do you feel we should? What do you feel we should be doing in terms of what I call, and you give me feedback on this, that everything that we're doing is a lie? Everything.
Oh, I'm gonna turn it over to Jabari. Jabari, that's your question. This is you. You are on WarCry. Go ahead.
Yes. I for the folks that will be listening, Jabari, Jabari,
Jabari.
just for them. I know we're able to see it here on the screen here. Professor, please ask that question one more time for me.
What do you tell these children when everything that they see is a lie?
Okay, yeah. What do you tell? All right, so I'll answer that question, but I do want to be able to respond to or add on to what Pastor Payne, Elder M said, et cetera, et cetera. So what do you do? I'll start with this. Whenever I train and edify educators, I start off with this quote by James Baldwin. It reads, children have never been good at listening to their elders, but they have never failed to imitate them. And I let that sit there for leaders prior to us going into the workshop, prior to us having a professional development session. I let it sit there for about 5 minutes until someone asks, why is this still up? Because I wanted to sink in that, yes, we can tell them everything. We can push this narrative, but not until we understand and digest that what we do, who we are, makes the biggest difference. So now to answer your question directly, Professor, it is we shouldn't tell them. Well, we should tell them, but that's secondary. It is modeling it first.
Yes.
So whenever I am in a space, for example, speaking of myself, students are like, "Why you smile so much, man? Who are you? Where you from? You from Brooklyn?" Yeah, I'm from Brooklyn. Are you smiling? You Mr. Smiley. That's what they call me, because I want them to see what is emanating from from internally, what's emanating outside from my internal disposition. It is a posture of positivity. It is a posture of, we're gonna make this work. It is a posture of, like, I see challenges, but I choose not to see challenges, if you see me. So then once I model the behavior, once I model my posture, and they start getting inquisitive, I'm gonna be like, oh, well, this is why I do this. And then they start questioning, well, don't you see what's happening in the news? Don't you see what's happening to my brother, my sister? I see it, but I choose to put these glasses on, or I choose to put different glasses on, because I want to be able to contort or focus my lens in a way that isn't just tuned into the lies, but be aware of the lies, but manifest my truth. So I help young people say, yeah, I can recognize that, but how do I manifest my truth? How do I focus on the future that I want for myself, regardless of the experiences that I'm experiencing right now? So what do I tell them? It is modeling it, and then letting them know, here's how I'm gonna shift your lens, because here's how I shifted my lens. right? So hopefully that answers that question directly there. I do want to get to what you also said. Awesome. Social advocate, love it. With empowering young people, the program that as for adults, with empowering young people, yes, I'm with you on the vetting. Yes, I'm with you on your way of looking at it and helping students. I would add on to that when you do see young people, don't see problems. Don't see what we see in the environment. See them as an individual human that is growing. Another way of looking at it is see them as a plant and you're a tree. You are a tree that has blossomed, that has fruit, that has fruit. Ooh. Anyway, that is blossomed, that is showing fruit. And they are a seedling, they are a short plant. And how do they grow? They need to be watered. So when I look at them, I'm like, how do I water you today? Or maybe you walked in and you have a demeanor that says, I'm sad every moment. Okay, how do I empower you? Man, let me help show you the small things and the small wins you just accomplished in getting to school today. Or maybe there's a challenge that they are taking medication. I'm just like, you ever ask yourself, why are you taking that? What have you done to actually manage your emotions instead of using that? To help them to spark something. So I'm seeing them as a small plant, and how am I watering them today? So that's how we help educators look at young people. And I just assess them in a way that, and again, Professor, I agree. I'm with you. I'm adding on top of what you said, which is, or adding beside to what you said, which is vetting them in a particular way, sure, but not just assessing their the medical medication that they use, but also seeing them in a way where it's like, how do I water you today? Mm-hmm. Now going to your the DAD program, your father program, such as the DAD program, and what we do with families, with caregivers and parents, what we do is we educate the whole self. And our curriculum says, how do I financially empower you? Build your credit literacy, build your spirit as a dad, spirit as a mother. What are some values that you can put on your wall to say, I raise my standard to these values? And we help them with their physical health, their mental health, their social health. We help them so that now when you go through these 12 chapters, you now come out and say, you know what? I ain't perfect yet, and we already know how it is in the church, but I'm on my way. I'm getting there, right? So then once they have that spirit about them, they are going into a school saying, what my child did today. They're going to a school saying, all right, my child is growing. They went to some challenges. Let me hear you out. I ain't mad at you, teacher. I ain't mad at you, principal. Let me hear you out. Okay. Did you ask my young person, what are the challenges and how did they get there? Did you ascertain that information? Oh, no, you didn't. Okay, well, let me help you out because I came here to help you out too. Like, thank you for helping me out and bringing me in to help my young man, my son. However, I also want to add to it that as a leader, maybe you could have asked, how is he feeling today? What did he experience before walking in here? Did he see somebody get shot before he walked in here? Did he come from a single parent household and he misses his dad and that's why he's reacting? I just want you to ask that question next time because we're all dealing with young boys in Bronzeville and these things do happen. So we are helping parents with coming into a school system, asking these questions and having this perspective rather than the perspective of us being angry or the perspective of the school is against us, so to speak, which at times it is based on our history and how there's a school to prison pipeline. Okay. Now, one other thing, Pastor Payne, I wanted to mention to you, sir, along with what you said. Yeah. How we help staff, how we help educators is modeling. So what we do in our curriculum for educators is first say, one, social and emotional learning is for you too. You need social intelligence. We need emotional intelligence. And if we don't have that, we are not going to be successful educators. That's one. Two, once they understand, like, you know what, I do need to be a little bit more emotional intelligent. Yeah, you do. Okay. Two, how do you now model it in the classroom? How do you now model it when you're walking down the hallway? How do you now model it when you're walking into school and you ain't have your morning coffee yet? and you see a student, you're like, they ain't coming to my class yet. It's 7:50. I don't want to talk to them. No. Hey, good morning, Charles. How you doing? Man, I haven't my morning coffee yet, but you know what? I'm all right. Like, how are you modeling that regardless of your environment? And that's how we're helping educators. The other thing is, how do we help these students? We help them by showing them vulnerability. See, a lot of times, us as men may not want to show that we're vulnerable. But with my son, he'll see that I'm sad. He'll come up, Dad, I want to play. I'm like, I'm a little bit sad right now. You sad? Why are you sad? Yeah, I just had a rough time at work today. You know, a little bit sad. Can you give me a few minutes? I want him to see that, so that when he sees that, he knows that men isn't always about, all right, let's go. No, we're motivated, yes, but man, I go through stuff, and you're gonna go through stuff, and let's talk about it when you go through stuff. I'm modeling it. I want you to see that vulnerability, son. And we need to show our young men in Brownsville, in East New York, where I grew up. Like, what's going on? Are you going through stuff? Yeah, I'm going through stuff too, man. Yeah, I go through this, and but not in a way where I'm perfect. Nah, man, I'm flawed. I make mistakes, you know, and show them vulnerability as men. One last thing I'll mention is, you mentioned about action quotient and things like that. See, under our curriculum, what we help people and humans recognize is SEL develops. SEL is the most important ingredient to develop the human quotient, and that's what that TED Talk was about, as well as me dedicating it to that young lady that gave me that pendant. But it is developing the human quotient. That is our social quotient, our emotional quotient, not just action, but also adaptability quotient, our IQ, all these different quotients. SEL develops that because we put it in a way where we say emotional intelligence is one of the most important things, if not the most important things we need to interact with ourselves intrapersonally and with others interpersonally. And when we are now more emotionally intelligent, aware of our emotions, how to act based on how we feel and think, then we can say, you know what, even though I'm sad today, I got to get my homework done. Even though I mean, I want to talk to this person, man, they're my teacher and I got to respect them. Even though I'm going through struggles, man, I got to show resilience about myself and rise up. So the SEL and what we do is help people recognize the importance of how it impacts your human quotient, your ability to be the best human you can be. So it's one of the
Oh, right. No. We want you to continue. But I just want you to just bring up the 4 or the 5 pillars of emotional intelligence so that the audience and everyone can know the pillars of emotional intelligence.
Yeah. SEL is built on 5 components. Those 5 components are self-awareness, self-management, social awareness, responsible decision-making, and relationship skills. Those 5 right there. So helping a human, whether little or big, be self-aware of my emotions, my emotional state, and then how do I interact with myself? How do I manage those emotions? Secondly, self-management. What type of techniques do I adopt personally? And this is why someone in Nassau County might be able to go for a walk down the street to deal with their anger, but somebody in Brownsville might not, because they might not be able to cross the block. Like, so how do you now as an individual create self-management techniques to help you manage your anger inside of your 17th floor, 1-bedroom apartment? The third thing is social awareness. How do you recognize the differences in someone, or recognize that, man, what that person in my class said to that young person, let me give names to it. What Timothy said to Johnny about his head, man, Johnny ain't like that. But if somebody said that about my head, man, I wouldn't care. They ain't talking about my mama, so I don't care. But me recognizing that they said that about Johnny, and Johnny takes those words differently, I have to be socially aware of my words towards Johnny, because Johnny might take those words differently. Johnny might pop off on me a little bit differently if I'm just like, nah, you whack. Who whack? I ain't mad. Like, how do I become socially aware of these individuals? Responsible decision making. How do I make responsible decisions when waking up in the morning? I gotta get to school on time. When interacting with a teacher that might be disrespectful to me, I ain't gotta meet that with violence. I ain't gotta meet that with how my mom taught me to be or my dad taught me to be. All right. I can respond and say, you know what, I don't like how you respond to me, teacher. So right now, I don't want to answer your question. Or I want to be silent right now. Choose to be silent. And then after class, go to the teacher. Hey, you mentioned something to me that really rubbed me the wrong way. It was different than the other young person, et cetera, et cetera. How do we make responsible decisions? And the last part again, relationship skills. We help young people let me go overall in a specific way for relationships. We help young people build positive relationships and move away from toxic relationships. That's SEL. And in a specific way, we help a young person recognize, yo, I'm getting out to New York way, but yeah, you sitting in a Black family household at the dinner table is different than somebody else sitting in a Hispanic household. It's different than somebody else sitting in a white household, Caucasian household, excuse me. So how do you recognize like the relationship I have and my family dynamics is going to be different than a Hispanic household. It's going to be different than a Caucasian household. So now how I interact with all these different cultures, an Asian household, et cetera, how I interact with all these different cultures and build these relationships. I can't just go to Jabari and be like, yo, my man, what's good? And talk a New York way or talk a Brownsville way or East New York way and expect that to work with somebody that just came in from Nassau County.
Now, question. Now, this also helps our young people handle problems outside of the school, which makes them be able to navigate in their communities, which brings about positive things in lieu of so much violence that we see because they're dealing with the anger and the trauma that they pushed away. Could you speak on that?
This is why J.Has.Heart was created, as well as the purpose. In our curriculum, what we say is all these SEL programs have all these great things. Yeah, it's going to increase academic performance. Yeah, it's going to help them with emotional intelligence because we're teaching emotional intelligence. Yeah, it's going to help them with social intelligence. Yep. Okay, good. The difference is for us, it's 3 parts. 1, we are creating transferable real life skills. 2, we are also being cautious about cultural dynamics. I would harken back to all the things I mentioned about cultural dynamics, but cultural dynamics. And the third thing is helping them focus on self-motivation and their intrinsic why. So in those 3 parts, those 3 pillars are baked into all that we do within our curriculum. So with specifically, Elder M, when you're speaking about a young person going back out into Brownsville, into East New York, into Red Hook, into all these different parts of Brooklyn, we help them say, one of our lessons, I'll get really specific for example, we have a lesson that talks about what angers you. Simply put, what angers you. And when we then, excuse me, I must apologize really quickly. I'm on a laptop and my charger went out and I had to stop really quickly to plug it in. Sorry. Let me be quite open.
That's okay. That's okay.
All right, great. Yeah. Let me finish real quick, if I may, please. What makes you angry today? It's a journal entry. And so they're writing down, this is what made me angry today. Okay, now you are then speaking about that to a partner. Now that partner recognizes, oh, that wasn't make you angry. This is what made me angry. Oh, I didn't even know that's what happened to you. Oh, okay. And now then the third level is we are reciting it in front of the class. Somebody volunteer. This is what made me angry today. And what we're doing is helping a classroom recognize that maybe Jabari, what made me angry today is that I couldn't catch the bus and I had to walk through an area where there were bloods and I was wearing blue. I wasn't only scared, I was angry because I'm like, man, I gotta do this, and I missed the bus, and I woke up late. I'm angry because of that. So now, when that person communicates that, a room of 20-something young people are going to then recognize, like, oh, Jabari went through that. That's okay. I can see why he's angry. I can see why he could be bothered today. Then 4th level is okay. So what do we do the next time you have to walk down that block? What alternatives can you put into your schedule? What things can you change? What attitudes can you bring into that situation that's going to make it different than today? So now when they're walking outside, they might say to themselves, all right, I'm gonna walk maybe instead of it being 2 blocks, if I got to walk around and it's 5 blocks, all right, that's what's going to help me, then do that. If it is I got to wake up early, okay, do that. We're identifying things within the lesson that can help them in their environment when they walk out of school, right? And that's what we're doing.
Excellent. Now, what has been some of your most challenging moments with the program? Now, the different places that you instituted the programs, could you just tell us where they are? I think you're working with a school district in Chicago. Could you just tell us a little about that? And what are some of your challenges?
Yeah. Since inception, to maybe a little bit before COVID, we were in 20 different schools, 10 different districts, and about two and a half countries. I won't say half because we're all on the verge of making this happen. And now since COVID, some schools that we've worked with has reduced, mainly because of budgeting, and especially this year. So now we're in about 8 different schools across 6 different districts in 4 countries. And our work is so personable that we're able to go to the country where I'm from, Trinidad, and teach young people there, or edify them there, or educate them there on SEL. Go to Antigua, another country in the Caribbean. Go to Ghana, right? Another country on the continent of Africa. And go to cities all over America here and be able to place this SEL curriculum in these schools.
Mm-hmm.
I want to go to really quickly the challenges. I would say that one of the biggest challenges I faced and my staff faced, we were in Chicago, and I go into too much detail with the specific school, et cetera, but it was a transitional school for young people, and we were there teaching SEL. Now, the school, the leaders in there are not teaching SEL, quite frankly. So here it is. The director there said, "Hey, I want to bring this into the school. My young men need this." Okay, so bringing in this program, we're talking to young men in a transitional school about making better decisions. And this speaks to either the professor or pastor that was speaking to how do we address the lies that they see.
Mm-hmm.
So we're going in and we're speaking to these young men, and we're like, okay, you can turn this around, or your future can be this way. You know, this could happen if you make this small decision. And they aren't able to see how this small decision about me coming to school or me coming here on time can affect how I maintain a job, or how I can get my record expunged. They aren't linking the two. So we're having a challenge with helping them to see how small decisions can impact you in a grand way, or how small decisions build a discipline that will help you in the next context or the next stage of your life. And we had young men that we would share, okay, here are the steps to take. And they literally would laugh. I ain't doing that, Mr. Hall. What you talking about? Oh, I tried that. That ain't work out. I'm not doing it again, Mr. Hall. Man, what am I here for? And completely blocking their minds on the possibility of things working out. It was difficult because, yes, we do experience young people that have the disposition to block things off just because of their reality. But this was another level because we had young men who had ankle bracelets on them. We had young men who just may have came out of jail 2 days before, and one of their stipulations is you have to go to school. You have to be at school. We're gonna check in on you. So they're like, I got a different world right now. I'm not even thinking about coming here on time. I'm trying to fight a case. Like so it was so difficult to peel the layers of trauma, peel the perception that they have based on their lived experiences. And it was just a harder challenge. However, we were able to tap into some of the young men there. And that's one of the things that we look at as a win. I'm not going to get all of you. If I got one, we know how that is. One sheep. But if I get 2, 3, 4 of you, great. Now we have a pool of influence in this ecosystem, so much so that when somebody's now having a detrimental value that they're bringing in, or detrimental perspective, we have 2 or 3 people that are like-minded and understand SEL to say, nah, bro, like it ain't even got to be like that. Like, yeah, well, that's how you got into trouble. But if you change this, this is how you could not get into trouble. Like, we can leave a influence in that ecosystem. And that's where our win was, despite the difficult challenge.
Excellent. Now, before I let the questions come back again, did you have any problems with the unions? Did they also, with the teachers union, did they agree and like this method?
I want to be fair and balanced here. I like that you're asking these questions, because these goes into the challenges of implementing SEL in these environments. I want to be fair and balanced here. There are people that say they want it, and there are some that actually do things to help implement this in schools. Unfortunately, there are some that say they want it, that don't do the work. It's as if they lose their hands to do the toiling and do the work to get it implemented. And then, unfortunately, there's a third bucket that says, I don't believe in that. So with the masses, or the majority being the second two groups, there has been a challenge. Now, there are some leaders that are emotionally intelligent to say, I'm going to make SEL a priority, which then will trickle down into the school board, which then will trickle down into leaders in the household that come to these meetings and say, okay, I don't know about SEL, but all right, let's go help my child with their emotional struggles. I'm with that. So we have some emotional sensitive or emotional leaders, emotionally intelligent leaders, excuse me, that make things work. However, there, from my experience, my lived experience, there's a larger majority, there's a majority of educators and leaders that haven't bought into it in a way that they should, which has then caused a deterioration in the effectiveness and the implementation of SEL in these spaces. You might get, for example, a vanilla type implementation that isn't effective. So there has been a tremendous uphill battle in bringing SEL into these schools, an effective SEL program into these schools that matches the demographics that attend the school. And lastly, I'll say that for a Black man, and I'm going to say it on this public platform, for a Black man to be now bringing this into schools, I have experienced a lot of challenges with leaders saying, oh, what's your experience? Oh, how'd you learn that? Oh, and questioning the validity and the stature and the capability of this Black man to then bring forth SEL in their environments. And I've also experienced challenges where leaders of the same ilk and background then challenging that, rather than seeing that here it is a Black man coming from Eastern York, Brooklyn, that has dealt with his own trauma, not just Americanized trauma, but Caribbean, and transporting over here, Caribbean American trauma, is now saying, I have been able to understand that trauma, compartmentalize it in a way that I can learn about it, recognize it, and do things better because of it. Is coming into your environment to then teach other young people that are experiencing trauma from the same areas that I grew up in, and you're denying that. Okay.
Well, we definitely need it here. And my question, I promise, and we'll turn it over to the panel. Is it in New York City? Have we accepted any portions of SEL in New York City? And have you tried to bring it into New York City?
Yes. One is, and when you go to multiple charter schools and their networks, you'll see that they do have SEL. In the public schools, there hasn't been an initiative that I've seen, and please forgive me anyone that sees it, that says, oh, I've put this as an initiative and it's a part of my administration. I apologize. I haven't seen that as a push, certainly these last few years here, to help young people. So now when we are, as J.Has.Heart, marketing it to a charter school network, they are then saying, we got SEL. Not how effective the SEL is, not how it's helping my young Black and brown young men and women that are in the school. And not saying, no, we just checked off the box and we have SEL. And then when I go to public schools, well, we're facing all these other challenges and we can't really bring this in right now. Now, is that saying for everybody? No. There are some schools we're working with that sees the value in it and sees our targeted initiatives around this and sees that value. But overall, there's been a challenge where leaders would think, oh, we have SEL, we've dotted the I, we've crossed the T, we've checked the box, but not recognizing, is it effective to the individual that we're edifying?
Okay, I got to turn over to the panel. Pastor Payne, I want to hear from you. We've heard a
Yes,
lot. What's your feelings?
I love what he's doing. I love everything that he said. I just want one question. Is there a way that you can speak to pastors and then the pastors can get with the elected officials and push it in? Because the neighborhood would change, our society would change, and all this will happen. But what happened is the religious leaders, if we get together and voice our opinion, and like I said, take it to elected officials, then we can affect it more. Is there a way that we can do that? Because I say, if you go to the churches and everything, mosques and synagogues and wherever, and push this, and then the leaders can get with the elected official and push it even more to the school, and you can see the difference, because our society will change, our school will change, the neighborhood will change, the individual will change. So I think if we could do that, that would be more effective. I'm just saying, you know.
No, I'm with you. Pastor Payne. You know, me and you, we together with this. Now I need to hear from you, Dr. Gorday, and then I will give it back to Mr. Hall.
Okay. You have a powerful and impressive and a highly motivated program here, which I would like to become a part of. And as you were talking about some of the issues or the blocks or roadblocks, yes, like Pastor Payne was saying, the synagogues and the churches and all the pastors. You can also talk to some of the social work schools. I'm a social worker. I'm trained social worker, but I'm a psychotherapist and a family therapist. So what you could do also, and I would be able to try to help out in that area, is to talk to the social workers or the psychologists and bring it as part of the curriculum. I've even thought about a curriculum for HBCUs where you could bring your program into there and train the professors or the students who would become professors. Have you thought about those kind of support systems? Because it seems like your direction is positive and powerful. I am very much interested in what you're doing. And I did a thing on fathers and sons, and I went to USC for my empowering the healthy development for all youth as my capstone. So I'm with you, and I would like to be a part of what you're doing.
You are Jabari, did I say it right? You are a part of us now, and we're going to do everything we can to move your program. Now I'm going to bring you in, and I want you to give your closing remarks as well as address the questions. But I believe that if we set up pilots programs in schools in East New York, in the Bronx, and in other places in the urban areas, we can not
Harlem.
only see a change in the academic and the graduation rates and see a change with the dropout rates, we can also lessen the violence in the communities. We could bring more parent
Yes.
involvement. And along with that, we need to bring some church involvement. Come on here, somebody, and be one community. So close us out as you address these questions.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm a note taker, so I was looking down and writing notes, and so I'm happy about what Pastor Payne mentioned, and also the Professor Glaude.
Good.
Gorday, got to get his
Glaude,
name
with
right.
the accent. Glaude. Thank you. I
Yes.
apologize. I wanted to get that right. So to address the questions, is there a way for us to speak to pastors, and can we go through it that way? I will say two things. One is there are times where there's an elephant in the room that isn't spoken about in a non-secular versus a secular sense, and there are challenges that do come up where there's a misunderstanding and misconception around what social and emotional learning is in non-secular spaces. So sometimes I have seen in my lived experience, I'm not saying it for everyone else, in my lived experience, I have seen challenges for pastors or leaders in a non-secular space to be on board with the teachings around SEL. And again, that's partly because of a misconception around SEL. So for us to, that's the first thing. Now, the second thing is, great, we should do it. Because what we've seen, certainly during the civil rights movements and 75 years since then, we have pastors and our religious institutions that have tremendous influence on not only voting power, political power, etc., but tremendous influence in what they say to both the masses, the people, and to the elected officials. So getting them on board to really speak about the emotional impact of our young people in our environments will be something that will be so impactful, so powerful. And how do we do that? One by one. I'm fine one by one. I'm fine in spaces like this. I'm fine in inviting them onto these platforms and speaking to them in a public way or even in a private way and speaking about maybe what hesitations they may have around this. So I'm all for that, and I welcome that, and I want that. Let's make it happen. Professor Gaudet, I would say fantastic. Yes, speaking with social workers is something that we try to focus in on when contacting schools and districts. It's counselors and social workers because they are the ones working with the emotional intelligence of young people. Yes, other educators are. Please forgive me for the other educators are listening, and they say a teacher is not working on the emotional intelligence of a young person. You are, but certainly and to a higher degree as counselors and social workers. It would be fantastic. Speaking of the HBCU program, yes, like this is why, yes, I'm running an organization, but I say to myself, I need to become an adjunct professor. So this is my goal now by end of Q1, 2026, become an adjunct professor in a Department of Human Development, in a space where now I am now not just trying to, in a business sense, impact and bring this in schools from a business perspective. I am now on the intellectual, in the class, in the higher ed classroom, helping 18-year-olds, 19-year-olds, 21-year-olds to understand the importance of emotional intelligence, so that when they enter into their relationships in the business world, in a personal world, they can then be intelligent enough emotionally to balance the challenges that they will come up against, right, in a secular space. So I am all about that. I'm looking to become an adjunct professor in that space. And I would love to be in the boat with you on that journey and help you in any way I can, sir. And be the wind to your sail. I'll be rowing the boat. I'll be helping out in any way. So please let us talk about that, discuss that further, and how about much I can help impact the work that you do and initiatives that you have. I am here for it. Going into the closing part, I want to say thank you. Thank you for the opportunity to speak with all of you today. Thank you for the opportunity to share the work that I'm doing, the work that folks that work with me, that we are passionate about. Thank you. Thank you to everyone who is listening and who will listen to this. I truly hope you received something today, because I myself have received something. I received some rejuvenation for today.
Yeah.
And if I feel rejuvenated today, ooh, watch out the rest of the day. So I thank you. I received some things today, and hopefully the ones that are listening have received something as well.
And we thank you for being a man of God and staying within integrity. We bless you for doing the work that's at the heart of God, and that's helping our inheritance. So this is WarCry. We're so glad you joined us. We say, welcome, community, spread it, because we want to move in SEL into New York, the real one. The real SEL into New York. I love you guys. Join us again next week. I'm telling you, next week is going to be another exciting ground root discussion. Thank you. This is WarCry. Thank you, thank you, thank you. This is WarCry.
WarCry For Our Children, where the street meets the sanctuary and purpose meets power. Join me, Elder M, intercessor, street evangelist, prayer warrior, advocator for justice. We stand in the gap in the streets, in the courtyards, in the schoolyards, in the church, and on the block. This ain't just prayer. It's intercession. It's advocacy. We deal with real problems. Criminal justice, social justice, gun violence, social media, catfishing, human trafficking, mental illness, education disparities. We deal with it all here on WarCry. Our community has a voice. It's called WarCry. Each week, we link arms with community leaders, educators, pastors, parents, calling out injustice. This is WarCry. This is not just a podcast. It's more than a moment. This is a movement. Join us. Let's give a voice to the problem and be the solution. I'm trying not to lose my head. It's like a jungle sometimes. It makes me wonder how I keep on going. WarCry. We're going to speak out for our children. Let freedom ring? No. There cannot be freedom until there's justice. WarCry, join us Mondays, 11 a.m. I'm just about to lose my mind. This is WarCry. Oh, they're trying to turn time back. But let us get out and give a voice to the problem. This is WarCry. Join us, be with us, or be gone. Don't push us. This is WarCry.
Trying not to lose my head. It's like a jungle sometimes. It makes me wonder how I keep from going under.
We're not going under. This is WarCry.